Hi everyone, welcome to Weekend with Baba. This is the new initiative that we have started off recently, and this is the first session that I'll be taking today. And here, I'll be discussing questions pertaining to UPSC 2021 preparation. So these questions have been sourced from which were put on the website and various social platforms from the students. So in that, the most important questions and the most common questions of high priority questions have been chosen, and I'll be discussing that in today's session. By the way, I hope all of you are doing good. I know it's a difficult question to ask, but we need to be positive, right? Not COVID positive though. We need to have a positive mental framework in how we see things, the way we respond to things, the way we react to things and our surroundings, and we need to keep moving forward. With the same agenda, we have started with this program. Uh, Coming to the basics or the agenda of this entire program, as I said earlier, today I'll be taking up questions related to UPSC 2021. The next week, it will be next weekend, it will be on questions pertaining to freshers or people who are giving exam or aspirants who are giving exam next year 2022. Uh, Similarly, uh, optional experts will be called upon. The toppers and bureaucrats and people from various field will join this program. All in all, the essence of this program is to give you the right direction and make sure that you're motivated during this tough times. In fact, we had started Outline initiative, as all of you know, last year with the same intent, right? Outline or even Ask Baba, and we got a very good response. In fact, a overwhelming response on this initiative. And this year we are continuing with the same. It's been 15 days since we started Outline, and we have received more than 500 calls. Please make sure that you use the best of it. And this year we have come up with one other value addition, which is called Phone a Friend, where you can talk to a medical expert, a counselor who can counsel you, a psychologist, right? Okay, then coming to today's program, the first question says, will the exam get postponed? I know this is the most, awaited, most put up question on every other platform. So I would say most likely the exam would get postponed. 90% chances that the exam would get postponed, but with UPSC you never know what will happen. I would say most likely it would get postponed. So the follow-up question would be, what should be my strategy in the present times of uncertainty? Should I do answer writing now or optional? And what should be the strategy for students who are appearing for interview? Okay, this is the second question that I have. So coming to the, of course, the next follow-up question would be this, like, what should be the strategy in the present uncertainty here? I would say it is individualistic. I would say it depends on your level of preparation. So I'll be dividing it into three parts. One, for those who are giving the exam for the first time. Second, for those who have given this exam more than 2 or 3 4 times, or who have appeared before for this exam. And the third would be for those who are giving interview this time. So coming to the first part, that is students who are giving this exam for the first time. I would like to say you should have an integrated approach here. So say suppose the topics that are overlapping in prelims and mains, be it polity, history, economics, geography, make sure that you list out these topics and have a micro and macro view of every topic that you read. So that would be the best way, so that once you are done with particular topics, say for example polity itself, if you're done with fundamental rights, make sure that you take up a test on prelims related to fundamental rights, and also at the same time the mains questions related to fundamental rights. You can follow our TLP, the most trusted and the most famous initiative of OS Baba for answer writing. So daily, wherein we post 5 questions. And it is done in a what do you say, a proper organized schedule. So you can easily pick up the topics and start writing answers accordingly. So you can have both prelims test and mains test and have an integrated approach where the topics overlap between prelims and mains, right? So this is one approach. Then you can also spend, if you have time, then you can spend at least 2 hours on your optional as well. So this is one strategy for students who are appearing for this exam for the first time. make sure your fundamentals and your prelims part is very strong. For students who have appeared for this exam before, I would suggest take up the syllabus, right? Both general studies and optional. Start underlining the topics that you are not very strong in. So you'll get a list of topics both in optional and in GS papers. Make sure that you consolidate the information related to that. It can be like, for example, society you have not done much, or internal security you have not done much, or probably world history you have not done much. So make sure that you consolidate information related to these topics. Then if you've done with this, then the next step would be, and it also applies to optional as well. Say in of GS1, I mean paper 1 and paper 2. So you have not touched upon some thinkers, you can do that consolidation of information on that, or probably in paper 2 somewhere you have missed out. So you can do consolidation of information in that particular optional. Once you've done this, once you've organized your notes, all that, the next step would be to start writing answers, right? As I said, again, you can follow the same TLP thing where we have this 100-day plan, and every day 5 questions are posted, 3 from static and 2 from current affairs, and a proper schedule has been given. So based on your areas where you have not done well, or probably which you have not covered before, you can pick up those and you can start writing answers on that. Fine. This can be the strategy for students who have already who have been giving this exam since 2 or 3 attempts, and for students who are uh, appearing for interview this time, I would still say don't spend more than 2 hours on your interview preparation till the dates are announced. Fine. So anyway, the next 2 hours you will be dedicating it for current affairs, and that will help you both in prelims, mains and interview, all the 3 stages in fact. Then the rest of the time it can be dedicated for your, again, the prelims or mains part, depending on your level of preparation, just like the second category of students which I said, right? Mark the gray areas that you have not studied properly, consolidate the information, then you can start answer writing, be it your GS or your optional, it applies the same, but not more than 2 hours on your interview preparation. Clear? Anyway, current affairs also is a part of your interview preparation, where you'll be dedicating 2 more hours extra. Apart from that, the remaining hours, it can be 4 hours or 6 hours. Make sure, depending on your level of preparation, you can follow the strategy that I've just mentioned for category 2. Clear? The next question is, I feel bored because of pandemic it life. I'm not able to concentrate on preparation. How can I be active? The question basically talks about how do you overcome this boredom. Of course, isolation, this leads to loneliness, and many a times negative thoughts keep coming to your mind. All this is quite common, but I would say that this is the best time for you to introspect, right? See what has worked for you, what has not worked for you, both in your personal front and on your professional front. Uh, for example, even in your personal front, say suppose you've had a fight and you're not talking to your friend or any of your family members, and it is your fault. I think it's the time that you pick up your phone and talk to them, right? If you genuinely feel that uh, that was your mistake, because I think life is much bigger than all this small misunderstandings and ego. So you can patch up in that per se, because especially with this present time, each one of us will be suffering from one way or the other. I think it is life which should be given more importance here. Coming to the studies part of the professional front, make sure introspect and see which are the areas that you should work on. Obviously, if you're not clearing prelims for 2 to 3 times, it means that you made a mistake. You need to self-assess yourself, and you need to introspect, see the gray areas, see the areas that you lack. You lack clarity, and you should work upon it. Anyway, I'll be discussing more on this aspect in the next question. Here, the question is more to do with the boredom. So here, I would say movies, inspirational movies, then documentaries, series, uh, and books are the best source to overcome this boredom. So I would give us a list of books that would actually help you. I would prefer non-fictional books over the fictional books, because you need to be grounded. You need to see what the reality is, what the real issues are. One of the books that I would like to suggest here is Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, then Sapiens, then 21 Problems of 21st Century, uh, then A Brief History of Almost Everything, Who Moved My Cheese, A Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, then 3000 Stitches by Sudha Murthy, The Magic of Thinking Big, Rumi's Little Book of Life, Learning How to Fly by Abdul Kalam, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach, then books on Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, right? People like this uh, who are very inspirational, and also people who have thought out of the box. And also the books, as I said before, gives you the ground reality of the actual problems of the people and how they went on to solve the problems, right? So these are one set of good books that you can refer to, and inspirational movies like the best game ever played, Coach Carter, or even Bag Milka Bag or Manji, uh, any inspirational movie, like especially I would say the sports oriented movies, which these are the real heroes and their experiences are shared here. Or coming to Kannada, since I'm from Karnataka, I would suggest Prithvi. That was one of the movies that I think I've watched around at least 15 to 20 times during my preparation days. So that is one of the inspirational movies that you can look into. The Damn United is also another good movie that you can follow up. Then coming to documentaries, the World War II. This also this also keeps you connected with the syllabus and at hand. There are I think 8 episodes on that that gives a clear view and will make world history interesting for you. Fine. And coming to the series, you can watch Pradhan Mantri, where about post independence era. Also keep making notes on that. Then Samvidhan on the intricacies and the debates that were held during the making of the constitution, why certain provisions were put under fundamental rights and why not in the PSP or fundamental duties, why zamindari system was removed or things like that. There were a lot of debates that went on. So all these are discussed, and this will give you a very good clarity on in GS2 paper. uh, then you can also for ethics, I think you can watch Justice, the online Harvard University of Ethics by Michael Sandel. That will give you a real good insights with respect to GS4 paper. So you can watch that series as well. Then Discovery of India by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So that's a very good book. You can read that, or that was made into a series in the name of Bharat Ek Khoj. So that is a very good series that you can watch, and it covers all the way from ancient history, from the Chanakya, Chandragupta Maurya times till the modern times. So that gives you a clear picture, and you'll start enjoying history. And for most of the science background students, history is one task to read, but this will make it more interesting. So watch series like this. That will make sure that you are in tune with UPSC preparation. I would have suggested I think the World War II, I think that documentary it's available in Netflix. I would have suggested other series like Money Heist or GOT, all that, but that is not the right thing to do, because once you get, I mean, or even Prison Break for that matter, once you get addicted to it you waste a lot of time watching it, and that is not helping you anyway in your preparation. So I would suggest series like this and movies like this, so that that'll keep you in tune with the preparation as well, and it will also act as an entertainment for you, right? So these are the things that you can do to overcome your boredom. And also the other thing that you can do is make a group of 2 or 3 students, make sure that every day half an hour to 1 hour you discuss on certain topics. Make sure you prepare a timetable, prepare a schedule, or pick up a topic, and every day probably in the evening or in the night time, half an hour to, don't spend more than that, 30 minutes to 40 minutes or max 1 hour. Don't spend more than I would say, ideally speaking, 40 45 minutes would be the ideal thing. So don't spend more than that. Pick up an issue or two, or say 5 topics per day, and you can discuss on that. So make sure that you're connected with people around, so that you should not feel that okay, you are lethargic or wasting your time. Fine. So that you are in continuous tune with the preparation mode. Clear? Next question. How do you keep yourself motivated, or I mean, there's another two questions similar to this. Managing prelims and mains preparation with uncertainties going on, not able to concentrate on studies as a couple of family members and friends down with COVID. I've lost a few from extended family too. So how do I overcome this, sir? Then the other question talks about how to handle stress or anxiety. All these questions boils down to one common thing. How do you stay motivated during these tough times? The previous question was kind of similar, but it was more to do with the boredom aspect. Here it is about sustaining yourself. Again, both are related to sustaining aspect. So here, in terms of motivation, what I would like to say is, of course, it's been a very difficult time to each one of us. We have lost, either we have lost one in a family itself, or in a close circle, friend circle, distant relative. It's quite common. I think by now everybody has been touched upon it, with the harsh reality of what COVID can do, right? Uh, it is a very tough time, and the worst part is you cannot be a part uh, in their last rites. You probably, some of you cannot even see their face, right, during the last time. So this has created a huge void, and it is something like a black hole which starts eating away, right? But you should understand that uh, you too have a life that you need to lead way ahead, and you have your own family members to look upon, to take care of them, right? You need to be practical, you need to be strong enough. If you actually look at the things that is going around, uh, people are working around the clock, from safai kamcharis, people who come to collect your waste, till the netas, all that. And in fact, the politicians, sometimes at certain places, they have politicized the issue as well. But if you look at that, if you look at the entire scenario, the two most sections of people, or the professionals who come to our mind, is the bureaucrats and the health workers or the doctors who are working around the clock. And I think this is one job that can give you that power to make a huge influence on the lives of the people. uh, in fact, in Karnataka recently, one of the IAS officers was manhandled by a politician, right? That is the harsh reality, though his intention was good. So this is what you will be getting into. These are the pressures that you need to handle, and this should be a strong motivating factor for you. You have lost, you might have lost, but make sure that others do not lose what you have lost. And the profession that you are getting will give you an ample opportunity to make a large difference in the lives of the people. And these are the people who are standing with us, fighting. Uh, Salute to all of these people, and not only the bureaucrats and the doctors here, but everybody who is working around the clock, from, as I said, from the people who collect the waste from your house, who are risking their life, uh, till to every other person who is working in an NGO to support, to arrange beds, everything for that matter. What I'm trying to say here is, there's a larger thing, there's a bigger thing that is waiting for you. Make sure that if you want to achieve that, it is for you to sustain. You need to sustain, you need to keep yourself motivated. This should be a strong reason for you to take up this exam. And also, you need to be practical enough. Don't get emotional this time. If for that matter, if I have to give you my own example here, everyone in our house were COVID positive, right from my 5-year-old kid, my wife, to the other kid, to my mother-in-law, right? Everybody at home, we are 6 of us in the home, and 5 of them were positive. And I had to admit my mother-in-law to the hospital, and even my wife, but I could not, as we had a very small baby at home. So I had to juggle between the hospital and at home, giving the steroids and medicines to my wife as well, and making sure the remdesivir, that has become so exorbitantly priced, being delivered to my mother-in-law. So all these were taken care, along with our two small kids also, right? It was a very difficult task, and all these times I had to be mentally strong, and at the same time the Ice Baba's work was going on. But of course, thanks to the team which has always been supportive, right, because of which it's been running continuously. And also people who have helped me during those tough times in arranging the hospital bed, or the medicine, remdesivir, or Even the auction, we wanted auction in the critical times. So everything, there were so many people who have helped. So that is the reason I don't want to name anybody here, but they have all helped. So I'm not trying to tell you that something great I've done compared to an IAS officer or anybody who is doing so much for the people. But what I'm trying to tell you is at least you be strong, mentally strong, so that you can take care of things, right? And take care of things, and wherever possible try to help others as well in arranging the medicines or bed, whatever small that I was able to do, I was also doing that. So I would also request others to help as much as possible from your end as well. Yeah. Coming to the next question. So these days the prelims exam is getting very dicey. Even after a lot of preparation, many aspirants are facing it difficult to clear the cutoff. What should be the strategy for prelims considering UPSC will keep the difficulty level same or even raise the bar? This is one of the questions that was posted on the website. And similar to this, there was one more question. How do uh, I have failed in multiple prelims. What is the best preparation strategy for cracking prelims, and how do I maximize the score? I'll club this two into one. The first and foremost thing to clear the cutoff, one is make your foundation strong, make your concepts very clear, practice, revise. So these are the three fundamental things that you should do. And I would like to say that you should, after taking the test, the analysis of the test becomes very important here. I would divide this into four parts. Either you're getting an answer wrong. Say suppose for example you are attempting 100, there are 100 questions and you are attempting 80 questions. Out of 80 questions, say you're getting 60 right and 20 wrong. So divide this 20 into four parts. The first part is lack of clarity. Are you getting the answer wrong? Is it because of lack of clarity? Second is it because of lack of revision? Third, is it because of overconfidence or overthinking and not reading the complete sentence? These are called silly mistakes. And the fourth one is taking a wild guess. So when do you get an answer wrong? Because when there's no clarity, especially this happens in a subject like geography or economics, or even of late the philosophical aspect of polity, right, where your conceptual understanding of liberty or rights or fundamental duties or the constitution should be well, I mean, you should have a very good clarity on that. Or inflation, the RBI increases the repo rate, decreases the repo rate, what happens, how it is impacting the economy. Or in 2013-14, there was this question on Commonwealth Games. Because of this, did this lead to increase in imports, decrease in exports, or there were two more options given? Or you have bought a painting and you're selling it off, that will that come under capital gain tax? So things like this, these questions can be answered only when you have a clarity in that subject. Or even temperature inversion, the application part of it, all this in geography, or rotation or revolution of the earth, does it lead to change in day or time or seasons, right? All this can be answered only when your conceptual clarity is sound enough. So you will get a clarity on whether you should reread, whether the way you read itself is right or wrong. Clear? So that comes to the first part. Second part, lack of revision. This usually happens when, say suppose there's the statement saying consider the following, and you have three statements given. You're able to recollect two but not the third one. So that basically means, but you feel like you have read it somewhere, but you're not able to take a final call on the answer. That basically means it is because of lack of revision. Clear? And third, this is the most common mistake that a student does. Either you're overconfident or you are overthinking, thinking, okay, how can UPSC give such a simple statement? So you that aura that is created over UPSC, thinking that it is the toughest exam, you tend to feel this cannot be the answer. It cannot be so easy, and you tend to mark it always. Most of the times it might be wrong, right? So that is one thing, and not reading the complete sentence. So here, if I have to give my own example, uh, there was this, I think in 2012 or 11 this happened, and it said consider the following, and four statements were given, and all the four were DPSPs, that is directive principles of state policy. And below below that there was this statement which said which of the above falls under Gandhian principles of DPSP. And I didn't read that, as my stronghold was polity. I just read the I glanced to the first 4 statement and I marked all of the above. But actually it was, I think 2 and 3 was the answer. That is B and C, right? So here mistakes like this can happen when you're overconfident and when you're thinking too much, right? So this is the other fallout of it. And fourth is wild guess. Basically you do this because of the peer pressure. Somebody has told you that to clear this prelims you need to attempt 92 or 90 plus, and you attempted 82 or 84, and you want to touch upon 90 and you mark 6 more questions which where you don't even have an iota of knowledge on it, right? So that is the time where that can backfire and you can miss the cutoff. So these are the 4 areas that you should actually work upon. Every time you take a test, see, taking a test is only 50% job done. Analysis of the test and working on your mistakes is contributes to the next 50%. So that is very, very important here. Clear? So say suppose you're getting an answer wrong in any of the questions, say it can be fundamental rights. It is your duty to go to fundamental rights topic and make sure that you read up on that topic and make a note of it. So that homework and that effort will obviously pay off. So you can have a separate notebook and you can make a list of all the notes from that, and that can also be used for your revision as well. Clear? That effort has to be put, and every time you take up a test, that analysis has to be done and that improvement has to be done every time. If that improvement and the lessons are not learned, then how many ever tests you take. So this is the reason why many a times 3 attempts you're giving and you're not able to figure out what has gone wrong and what is worked out for you, right? And this is one aspect of it. Then second thing is you should understand that you don't have to attempt all the 100 questions. Clear? You don't have to attempt all the 100 questions. Treat it as 100 balls being bowled at you. See, just like a game of cricket, if I'm bowling 100 balls to Virat Kohli or Dhoni or Sachin Tendulkar, it doesn't mean that they start hitting all the balls for a 4 or a 6. There are balls where they'll duck, they'll leave the ball, they defend the ball, they take singles, they take doubles, and they hit for a 4 or a 6. So similarly, you need to know which question to attempt and which question to leave. That becomes a very important part in clearing this and maximizing your score. And third thing is, there are areas where you can actually maximize your scores, like where you can should be sure shot, like mapping based questions, or then Buddhism, Jainism. So these are certain areas where most likely the questions keep coming. So that is what you should be doing. And for people who have been giving prelims since 3 times, 4 times, and not able to clear, I think the best strategy for you would be to go reverse engineering. So what do I mean by reverse engineering is you take up the test and then do that analysis of the test and go back to the standard books and make sure you read through it again. So that will act as a revision and also make sure that you're taking up the test. So the reverse engineering will actually help, instead of, because you would have read the same Lakshmikant for at least 10 times, same spectrum for the same 10 times, right? So I think the resources are not a problem, because at least by now you would have realized what are the right set of resources, right? The only difference is the way you read, the way you understand, especially with polity, reading between lines is what is important, right? So for you to have clarity, I think the reverse engineering, taking the test and then going, for example, you are taking a test on parliament and state legislature. So you take up the test and then do the analysis why you're getting it wrong, where you got it wrong, go to the topics parliament and state legislature and just brush up things. So that is the best way to do, especially for people who have given this attempt for more than 2 or 3 times. Clear? Yeah, the other question that you need to understand is, if the question is difficult for you and if you're a sincere student, then it means it would be difficult for many others or almost everybody who has taken up that test, right? So do keep this in mind. And I also I hope all of you are following this 60-day plan earnestly, right? The most trusted initiative of IS Baba for prelims. So do follow that. That will give you good insights into the the quality of questions and the diversity of the questions as well. So do take up that. And also the coming to the test, I think you can take up this our prelims, all India prelims test series as well. And not only Baba's test, it is up to you. Whichever test you are comfortable, you can take it up. Whichever that gives you confidence, right? That would be the test series that you can take it up. Yeah. The next question is, Yeah, how to cover the gray areas, especially the art and culture, the science and tech, and the environment. I would like to say here is I would like to say the first part, the art and culture, especially art and culture, ancient and medieval. These are the three things that I'll be discussing now. What I've seen is many students have come to me after these 2020 prelims test and started asking me what should be the source that I should follow for ancient, medieval, and art and culture. I would still say stick on to the same set of books, right? Just because UPSC has asked so many questions doesn't mean that UPSC will repeat the same, right? It is like there are questions which you could, if you have seen the paper, there are questions which no matter what, even if you study A to Z of it, right, you will get questions which you cannot answer. That is how the especially this section is. So instead of that, I would still say stick on to the same basic book. I think the old NCRTs, either go with the old NCRTs or the Tamil Nadu history book. Keep that as the source, first source. Read that. You will have a chronology, because history should be studied with chronology in mind, so that you will be able to recollect things, and that will help you in even eliminating the answer. So that should be the first read. Either old history, old NCRT if you can get an hand of, or if not, then Tamil Nadu history. Then after that, then the new set of NCRTs where it follows themes. For example, for art and culture, there is this 11th standard NCRT, fine arts, and part 1 and part 2. 12th standard NCRT, that is part 2. So it is given in themes, and directly questions are picked up from this book. For example, in 2018, there was this prelims question on which foreign traveler spoke about diamond and diamond mines, right? So this was directly picked up from one of the themes of the new NCRT. So what if you are directly going to the new NCRT? What will happen is you might be slightly confused, because the chronology of it, the new NCRTs do not follow the chronology of events. It follows the theme based. Like it can be art and culture, it can be ancient history. It follows particular theme. So for you to give a chronology of events, you have a first read of either, as I said, the old NCRTs or the Tamil Nadu NCRTs. Then you can read the theme-based new NCRTs, which will give you a more clarity on understanding things, and you can get direct questions from this set of books. So that should be your strategy for reading either ancient, medieval, or the art and culture part of it. I wouldn't suggest Nitin Singhania here. Again, it's a fat book. See, it for some people it would have worked, but honestly speaking, such a fat book is very difficult to read. In fact, during our times of preparation, I think it was in 2012 or 13 where this Nitin Singhania and notes had come out, the Xerox notes. That was hardly 50-60 pages. The same 50-60 pages of hand notes has been made into a 500-page book. If you can get a hold of that hand notes, I think that would be enough. Apart from that, as I said, this NCRTs would actually make up the rest of it. So that should be your strategy. And also, if at all you still have that Nitin Singhani book, you have a selective reading of it. Okay, probably the dance forms or certain things like differences between Buddhism, Jainism, only certain things or tabular forms can be read through it. And also, when you're the other thing that you need to keep in your mind when you're reading history is, especially with ancient history, you see the kingdom, the ruler. For example, if it is Vijayanagar kingdom, so obviously there'll be the most important ruler of that kingdom. Make a note of him. During his times, what was the political, economic, social setup? What were the new laws that was brought in? So the new measures that were taken. So this is how you should be studying actually. Or even during Akbar's time, Mansabdari system was introduced. Who introduced Mansabdari system? What was special about it? So things like this should be looked into, or else it becomes very difficult for you to read and recollect and remember so many things. So that should be the strategy. Even for example, for art and culture, if you look at things like the overall view, have an overall view, then get into the micro view. So overall view, like during the Lodhis or Delhi Sultanates, what was the kind of art and architecture that they followed? They used grey stone, all that. In fact, the marbles were first used during Mughals, and they were the ones who started beautifying structures. So have this overall view, so that it will give you a clear picture on what was introduced when, and what was the overall view of each dynasty, what new things they introduced, what were their style of thinking, all that. So in this way, if you study, it becomes very interesting, and also it becomes easy for you to recollect things during the exam time. Clear? And coming to the next part, it is science and tech. See, science and tech, there's no one particular source for science and tech. I would say current affairs would actually help you in that. And apart from that, the 60-day plan, wherein we majorly focus on, we emphasize, not majorly, we emphasize on science and tech and environment every week. So you need to look into those questions, and most of the times the questions have appeared in UPSC as well. So that is the other source. And apart from that, what you have to do is divide the entire science and tech into like space, defense, nanotechnology, biotechnology, then genetic engineering, then robotics, IT, computers, networking, right? Latest technologies. So divide this into different sections like this, and whatever comes in the newspaper, make keep adding to it, and also know the basics. For example, in genetic engineering, what is this somatic cells, pluripotent cells? So that basic understanding should be there. You should always have the structure. For example, uh, what is the structure, what is the characteristics or features of that technology, right? And what is the application of it? For example, in carbon nanotubes, when you're reading carbon nanotubes, you need to understand what is the structure, what is the feature of it, what is the characteristics of it, why is carbon being used there, and then what is the application of this carbon nanotubes, right? This is how you should be reading. And even science, for example, virus, the basic features or characteristics of a virus, whether it is a cell wall, whether it is a single celled, all that. So things like this is how you should be reading. You should have this structure when you read science and tech. Same goes with dance forms and all, in which is a part of art and culture. One would be from where's this dance form from? Is it from Andhra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, or Odisha, anywhere it is. The origin of this dance form. Second important thing is the theme on which this dance form is based on. Then third is the unique feature of each dance forms. Like for example, I think it's Kuchipudi where the dancer dances on the brass plate. So some unique feature of that. And fourth was that important ruler or the poet who patronized that particular dance form. So these are the first structure that this is the structure that you need to follow for dance form. Similarly, for everything, there's a particular structure that you need to follow. Even for example, polity. If you look at, if you're reading speaker, then how is he elected? Is he elected, nominated, directly, indirectly? That forms his election. What is his qualification? Who can be elected or nominated as a speaker? Then third is what are the powers and functions of the speaker? Then fourth is how is it disqualified? Just replace speaker with president, vice president, prime minister, cabinet. So it falls under the same thing. So always have the structure, so it becomes easy for you to read and recollect. So one of the books that is in news right now is this TMH publication by and it is written by the author is Ravi P. Agrahari. So this is one of the books that is suggested, but I would still vouch for current affairs and dividing it into sections that I've told you, and following this pattern of the characteristics, features, and the application of the technology, right? So that would be the best way to go about science and tech. Coming to environment and ecology, uh, I know one of the books that most aspirants prefer would be Shankar, but I would again say here, again, this is one bulky book, and every time what happens is anything new that comes in the UPSC paper, that's being updated. So I would like to say do a selective reading. For example, the basics, touch upon basics like pyramids, inverted pyramids, how the energy flows in the pyramid, the top down pyramid, then what do you say, the food web, food chain. Concepts like this can be looked into the that book. But apart from that, I think again current current affairs becomes an important part. Um, then there is also one book that is in news, Environment and Ecology by R. Rajagopalan. So that is one of the books that people are referring these days. But as I said, any book, do a selective reading of it. Again, divide it. Understand what are the topics that come under environment. For that, if you are confused, what you can do is at least from 2011 till 2020, go through the previous year papers. Go through the previous year papers. So you will get a clear idea of from where the questions are coming from, at least the topics at least. So this year I have to emphasize the importance of previous year papers as well. So sometimes, I mean, at least from 2011 till 2020, you need to go through the previous year papers. And when questions are asked, there are 4 options given. Sometimes that keyword from that option is taken and it is asked. For example, fertigation, I think it was asked in around 2013-14 times. It was one of the options. And a question on it was asked in, I think, 2019 or 20, right? So you need to see the trend, you need to see the options as well. So read through the previous year questions properly. That will also give you greater insights, and it will also help you into maximizing your score as well. So just go through this previous year papers. It will give you a clear understanding of how the pattern is set and how the questions have been asked and from what area it is being asked. So that forms a very important part of it. uh, so here also environment, you can, one set of section would be the laws on environmental laws, both at national and international level, organizations at both national and international level. uh, then basics, like as I said, food web, food chain, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, pyramids, all this comes under the basic part of it, like what is this acid rain, then biofertilizers, etc., like that. So that is the other section that you need to be reading. And the species in news, not again, see, when you look into the world heritage sites and the species in news, national parks, all that, not everything in India you should be reading, right? Because there's so many in number, and it is humanly impossible to remember everything. So what can be done is, there is this uh, World Network of Biosphere Reserves, then Ramsar Convention, UNESCO Natural Heritage, final and tentative list. Then off late, it is the blue flag tag that was given to India, that is related to beaches. I think around 8 beaches have come under this blue flag tag, where it is awarded to the beaches, then the marines, and the tourism, boat tourism operators. So you need to look into things like this, and which are in news. So the questions do not come out of outside this. It is basically it which is in news, and this international organizations which you need to look into, right? Not every other national park, every other wildlife sanctuary. It becomes very difficult for you to remember all this stuff. Anyway, we'll be coming up with this rapid revision series in some time. I think that will give you a good exposure to the quality questions that can come in the UPSC exam. Clear. The next question says, how to go about current affairs? What are the sources to refer? Should I do Yojana, Kurukshetra and PIB along with regular reading of Hindu newspaper? So current affairs, I know it is just like an ocean. You try to keep swimming, you keep swimming throughout the year, throughout years together, and sometimes you might even drown in that uh, ocean, right? That is how huge it is. It is very vast. So here you need to be smart enough. I think the Babapedia is one. It's not because we are giving Babapedia. It is one of the best sources that even the toppers referred to, and the toppers have recommended for. Babapedia, where we have Prelimspedia and Mainspedia. Both the prelims and the mains aspects are covered. So apart from that, if you look at the free initiatives, the daily news analysis can be referred to, and the same thing is compiled into a magazine, more organized manner. So you can refer that, and the compilations of daily quiz as well. So these are the sources. See, stick to, I would say, stick to one or max two sources. Don't, not more than that. And because current affairs is very vast, and here you don't have to have a conceptual understanding. It is more about the revisions that you make. So if you're laying your hand in every other current affairs, what happens is it becomes very difficult for you to revise. So revision forms the key with respect to current affairs. So I would say these are the best sources that I would actually recommend for the Babapedia or the daily news analysis of IS Baba. The same thing as I said is compiled in monthly magazine, and the daily quiz compilations. So I think that would do a lot of revisions with that. And if somebody is reading newspaper and making your own notes, I think stick to one paper. Say suppose Hindu is your standard paper of reference. Keep Indian Express as supplementary or complementing your complementing Hindu. Not that every page, like from page 1 to page last should be read from Indian Express. What you can do is the explained section, the editorials where IR related topics which are given much better in Indian Express, you can just refer that, right? But keep one source as the standard reference and the other as a supplementary or complementary reference for you. Clear? That is one way. Then coming to whether do you have to read PIB, Yojana Kurukshetra, of course it is important, but I think most of the times it falls under the news itself. So you would have covered some way or the other in your news. But even if you want to do it separately, I think rather than going into PIB and Yojana Kurukshetra, the hard copies or the soft copies, I think the best would be to stick to our Yojana Kurukshetra gist that we publish monthly. We have been doing it since day one, and it is we do it through mind map so that it is easy for you to understand things, and we give it in very short and crisp manner. So I think you can the best source for this would be the Yojana Kurukshetra gist of IS Baba, and PIB also. Weekly PIB is being published, so just look into that. I think that is more than enough. Apart from that, one source of current affairs, as I said, it can be IS Baba's, it can be anything of your choice, but stick to one source of it, and you can refer to weekly PIB of IS Baba and monthly Yojana Kurukshetra gist. That would do. And as I said, most of the times you will see you can see many of the schemes that is being discussed in PIB or in Yojana Kurukshetra in the current affairs that you are reading. Clear? So don't spend much time on that. Instead, do a smart study. We have put in a lot of efforts, and we actually pay for the work to be done in the best manner, right? So all that effort has been put from our side. Your duty is to be smart enough to pick up the right material that will help you. Clear? The next question is, what is the best preparation strategy for aspirants who are working? Of course, what I have seen from in my circle who are from non UPSC, who are not from UPSC basically. The workload has increased. They've been working more. All that is there, but at the end of the day, what you need to realize is the question paper will be the same, right? No matter whether you're working or you're a fresher, you're dedicating your full time, uh, you are pregnant, you are carrying whatever it is, you are already in service. The bottom line is the paper will be the same. So they will not even ask whether you're because just because you are working, we should favor you. It doesn't go like that. So at the end of the day, end of the day, the paper remains the same. So what I would like to say here is, come up with a proper plan. Come up with a proper plan. The plan becomes very important here. Make sure that during your work hours, you try to manage current affairs during your work hours itself. So the rest of the time that you get, probably 3 to 4 hours, make sure that you make a plan. For example, you can dedicate it to your prelims preparation, right? Or if you want to cover your optionals and you think you will have time for it, then you can do it over the weekends, where anyway Saturday Sunday you will have enough time, wherein you can double your number of hours that you are putting in the weekday, right? So, and also you can watch this Neha Banerjee's Rank 20 video on IS Baba's YouTube channel, where she has given clearly on what should be the strategy for a working professional. Or even Anjali Rank 26, I think 2017 or 18 time batch. So you can watch her video also. That these two videos will give you a clear picture on how a working professional can clear this exam. So do watch those videos. That will give you more insights, and the intricacies and minute details have been explained in that video. So do watch that. And as I said, the planning is the most important thing here for a working professional. And also make sure that your weekends are utilized to the optimum. The next question is, I'm finding it difficult to manage time. How to utilize my time effectively? And the follow-up question is, how should I revise? So I'll club these two questions again together. Uh, uh, Time management is of course a difficult task for many. Sitting at a place for 2 hours at a stretch again is another daunting task. But I would like to say that in an exam, right, you need to sit for 2 hours. Prelims exam is for 2 hours, at least minimum 2 hours. You need to be focused and you need to remain at a place. Initially, it will be even difficult for you to sit at a place for half an hour or even 45 minutes, but you need to practice yourself. So that is why divide your day into two-hour slots. So make sure that you force yourself to sit. It might be difficult for a week or two, but then once you get used to it, you will be there sitting at a place So sitting at a place for 2 hours itself is a challenging task, and then reading comes the next. So you need to condition your mind, you need to be calm, you need to condition your mind to sit at a place for 2 hours and then study. So divide your day into two 2 hour slots. Each slot you can dedicate it for your optional or your prelims or any one particular subject or a test or for your revision. So divide it like that. So for example, you divide your day into 4 slots. 4 slots in 2 hours means 8 hours. So you'll be studying for 8 hours. So after you study for 2 hours or 1.5 an hour, whatever your time you sit, make sure that the next 5-10 minutes you take a break, you relax, and also try to reflect on what you have read. That acts as a revision as well, and it will also helps you in contemplating and thinking on different dimensions, because that is what is actually missing out in students. Everybody are in the rat race of completing the syllabus, but they're not giving much thought to think, right? So that is missing. So this is the time where you'll not only contemplate, but also it will help you in revising also. So read whatever time you read, 1.5 an hour or 2 hours. Spend the next 5-10 minutes on relaxing and reflect. Try to reflect on what you have read. See whether what the author is trying to say, is it right or wrong? Is there a different view to it? Right? All that will help you in contemplating, thinking in different dimensions, and also in revision. So that is a kind of revision. And also when you sleep in the night before that, just 10 minutes, when you're lying on your bed, also try to see what have you read in that entire day. So that will also act as a revision. And then you try to put in as many number of hours in 6 days a week, and the 7th day, that is Sunday, you can take it light, right? What you can do is the first half you can spend time on revising what you have done in that entire day from Monday to Saturday, or you can dedicate that half a day where, say suppose somewhere you have missed out because of some emergency or something that is very critical, and you've not covered what you had to cover. So that half a day you can spend it on that, but make sure the next half day of Sunday, at least from 5 p.m. onwards or 6 p.m. onwards, try to spend that time for yourself, your family members, or things that you would love to do. Because the next day you need to come with the same energy, the same 100% energy and same enthusiasm. That becomes very important. If you're not taking break, see everybody, you would have seen, okay, you need to practice, you need to revise, you need to take so many tests. All these are very common things that you hear about. But what I would like to say is, taking a break also plays a very important role in your success towards this exam. You need to understand your body and mind much better, yourself better, because your body is also put in a lot of stress. You'll be reading continuously, it also requires, the brain requires rest, your body requires rest. So I would like to say, at least spend half a day, or at least from 6 p.m. onwards of every Sunday, for yourself, and or things that you would love to do. You want to watch a movie, you can watch a movie. You want to spend your time with your family, spend your time with your family, so that the next day you come out with full energy and full enthusiasm, so that the next 6 days are taken care of. So this half a day break will help you in maintaining that momentum for the next 1 week. So do this, and this is how you can revise also. You can take a break, and you can also be energized and motivated for the next week. That is the best way you can read and revise and manage your time. Clear? How many mock tests should I take? Coming to this, there's nothing like a fixed number as such. Initially, I would suggest take up this subject-wise revision test, wherein you will check your, that will check your conceptual understanding of each subject. Later on, you can start taking the mock test. It can range from 5 to, there are people who solve 30 tests, 40 tests, 50. It depends on individual to individual, right? So it is up to you, and I would say minimum, I think 4 to 5 full length mock test is required. At least minimum 4 to 5 full length test will give you a clear it will give you that actual experience of taking up UPSC exam. And especially IS Baba's full length mock test, I think you can ask anybody, they'll give you a very good feedback on that. It is just based on the lines of UPSC, that is what we prepare the questions on. In fact, you can solve even the last year full length mock test of IS Baba of 60-day plan. You'll get a clear idea on that. Right? Anyway, this year also will be coming up with the full length mock test. You can solve that as well. Clear? And the last question that I'll be discussing today is how to handle competition. See, handling competition, the only way to handle competition is being disciplined. Be disciplined in terms of your plan, in terms of your study, in terms of you sleeping, in terms of your eating habits, in terms of maintaining your health. Be disciplined in every front. And we have also realized that health should be given more importance, especially now, right? So give adequate time for your sleep, for your body, for your food, and also your studies. And the bottom line is be disciplined. And I would like to say, you be your own competitor. Instead of thinking about others, you think about yourself. Say you have studied for 6 hours, make sure that you study for 6.5 hours the next day. So be your own competitor. You set a benchmark. You scoring 60 today, make sure you score 65 the next time you take a test, 70, 75. There should be a constant improvement, there should be a constant learning. Please do remember this. There should be a constant improvement, and there should be a constant learning of after every test, right? So that will keep you abreast, and if you are the best on that day, I think you will clear this exam. You are the best competitor. Don't think about others. You are the best competitor. So you are the one who should set that benchmark, and you should breach that benchmark, cross that benchmark, and set greater benchmarks. Clear? And uh, other important thing I have to say is take one day at a time. Make a proper planning in terms of schedule. That either you can have your own strategy, your own plan, or you can follow the 60-day plan, right? It gives you clearly like what are the topics that will be covered each day, right? And it also gives you a break on Sunday. So either you follow that or you follow your own strategy, but stick to one plan. Don't follow every other plan that is given on different websites or different institutions. Do stick to one plan. That gives you that gives the best in you, right? So that would be the best way forward in terms of planning. Have a overall plan. Say for example, you have a plan for 90 days. That gives you overall plan, and have a micro plan. A micro plan in terms of daily plan and hourly plan, right? That is the best way to go forward. And always make sure that you give your best every day. Make sure that you're giving your 100% every day. That is the best way to go about. To tell yourself that today I'll be covering, and be always honest and true to yourself, right? Be brutally honest to yourself. Whether if say suppose you marked 8 hours, that you keep a diary. Say that whatever you have studied, the number of hours, if you have taken a test, what is the score, or if you're taking a mains test, how have you performed, what is the learning on each day, what didn't go right today. So that everyday accountability is what is actually very important now. Clear? Yeah, I think I've covered all the important questions that was bothering many of the UPSC aspirants who are giving the exam this time in 2021. I know it's a very tough time, but as I said, there's a greater uh, goal in front of you, a greater thing that you can do and you have to do. So just keep that in mind and keep working continuously. Take one day at a time. That is very important. As Dhoni keeps saying in every press conference, right after every post-match press conference, take one day at a time. Take one match at a time. Clear? And uh, 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 you can also post your questions on the YouTube in the comment section below. All your queries will be answered by myself and the team members of Faiz Baba. Then also make sure that you make the best use of this connect with Baba. This is an overall name that is given to the all the sub initiatives like Hotline, Ask Baba, Phone a Friend, or even Weekend with Baba. All this comes under Connect with Baba. Make sure that this initiative is used best. And as I said, I'll be calling upon more people to this Weekend with Baba, wherein they'll give you more expert knowledge on this optional per se, or it can be from the toppers or from the bureaucrats and people from diverse fields. Next week, I'll be taking up questions pertaining to the freshers who will be appearing in 2022. So you can post your questions on the website or on other social media platforms where these questions will be taken, and we'll be discussing this. Uh, I hope you have cleared all your doubts, and make sure that the hotline is used. As I said, from Monday to Saturday, anytime you can call the mentors, the core team members of Ice Baba from 10 to 6. The phone number is also given. So we run this like Monday to Friday, the hotline, the Ask Baba initiative, and also the phone a friend, where you can talk to a medical expert or the counselor who is a doctor, a psychiatrist, who will actually guide you through. So the timings are also given, the phone numbers are given. Make the best use of this initiative from Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday and Monday to Friday, sorry, and on Saturday we'll have this Weekend with Baba, where I'll be taking up the questions which are posted up across the website, at all other social media platforms, right? And I'll be answering them. right? Uh, I would say the entire essence of this initiative or any other initiative that is running at this point of time is to make sure that we give you the right direction, the right path in this journey of UPSC, and also to keep you motivated during these difficult times. I think this is the least that we can do. We would also like uh, your cooperation from your end. All the best.